Sometimes in the classical music world, people think that that we can be stuffy, but I think I like to keep us entertaining.
You have fun up there, and
Yeah.
that exudes out into the audience, and I really it makes it better for everybody.
Oh, thank you.
And most of the time, everybody is a lot of folk because that theater is pretty well full.
Yeah, yeah, it is.
It's amazing. You can just fill it up.
One of the things we're already all over the place, but one of the things that when I'm out of the area and I talk to people, and they hear about the Springfield Symphony, they ask about our hall, and I say, yeah, Hammond's Hall, 2,300 seats, and we're pretty darn near full most of the time there, and people really they're surprised.
Yeah.
Because a lot of orchestras struggle to put people in the seats, and not many play in a hall as big as ours.
Oh, no.
I mean, Kansas City, 1,550.
And it's a beautiful place.
Oh, Hammond's is a beautiful
Now,
place.
I would give up 100 seats to have a center aisle. But other than that,
Yeah, that's not up to me, but I would agree with you on that. I would give up a couple hundred seats for a little bit different acoustic, but that's a great hall. We
yes,
love
it's
performing
wonderful.
there.
Just wonderful. And the amazing thing about it is that over the course of seasons, as we've gone, it is not the same thing. It's new, it's innovative, bringing in the St. Louis Ballet, doing things like that doing the symphony with the Daredevils.
Yeah.
Those kinds of things are just so out there, so cutting edge and so creative that there's no, you don't get bored by it, ever. You're always watching what's going on.
Thank you. One of the biggest parts of my job is, as music director of the orchestra, is choosing the season. That's really, conducting the concerts. Sure,
Yeah.
that's the most important, most significant thing. That's where people see me.
Right.
But choosing the season is the other most significant thing, I think, because we have it's a big responsibility. There's so much great music out there. And everybody loves Beethoven, but if I took our whole season and played Beethoven all year long, people would say that's too much Beethoven,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so, it's my job to find a variety of music where people will feel like, hey, I get to hear the things I love.
Mm-hmm.
I know, these are familiar. They feel good. I have to put some things that are new on so that people feel like,
Right.
hey, this isn't just always the same thing over and over again. And then I'm always looking at ways. For me, one of the things that's really critical is we got to find ways that stay really connected to the community, to the people in the community, and give people what they want, but also kind of expand what they want by giving them opportunity to see things that they haven't seen before.
Right. Right.
And so you mentioned, the Daredevils. Of course, everybody knows the Daredevils in Springfield. But up until a few years ago, when we did our first collaboration with them, no one had seen the Daredevils play with a full symphony.
Yeah.
Now, I got to be honest. That came from them. They reached out to me. They reached out to me through Ned Reynolds.
Oh, yeah.
And Ned called me up one day and he said, "Hey, Kyle, the Daredevils?" I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Would you be at all interested in doing a concert with them? I mean, I know that, if you don't, it's totally okay." I said, "Heck yeah, I would absolutely do that." And he said, "Really? You'd really want to work with those guys?" And I said, yeah, I would. And that proved to be a great collaboration.
The symphonic version of Chicken Train was beyond compare.
That was one of my favorite things. And to be honest, okay, so I didn't really grow up with the Daredevils. I knew a few of their songs. I didn't know Chicken Train.
Yeah.
And when I listened to Chicken Train the first time, I thought, what the heck is this?
And what is that big thing he's bonging on?
But I love it. It's probably my favorite song.
Yeah. Oh, it was perfect.
Yeah.
And have it done operatically.
Yeah.
Just you can't make that up.
Oh yeah, that was great. That was great fun. The ballet is another one. Doing the St. Louis Ballet collaboration. This kind of blossomed into something that's pretty big for us now. It started because at one of our holiday concerts. I guess it was maybe 6 years ago, 6 years ago. You know, a holiday concert's one of the hardest things for me to program, which seems silly, right? Because it's a holiday concert. It's pretty simple. But the trouble with a holiday concert is everybody wants to hear what they want to hear. Everybody wants to hear what everybody knows is on a holiday concert, but nobody wants to hear the same thing over and over again.
Right.
So trying to find little ways to change it up, to do something a little bit different. And so I was reaching out for some ballet dancers. I thought, everybody knows the Nutcracker. Let's do part of the Nutcracker that people don't see all the time. And I was searching for dancers, and I reached out to the St. Louis Ballet, and they had a couple of, it just happened, they did not have a Nutcracker performance the night of our concert. This was 5-6 years ago. And the dancers came down and danced, and they said, this was just so much fun. This orchestra is so great. We don't get to work with an orchestra very often in St. Louis. It's so expensive. Sure would love to do more with you. And so I reached out to their artistic director and said, hey, would you be interested in coming down to Springfield and doing basically a ballet on stage with us? And he said, let me think about it and I'll call you back. And he called back and he said, I'll do it on the condition that you all come up and play with us in St. Louis. And so, now
so it's like a home and home ball game.
Yeah, it's like a home and home ball game. That's exactly what it's like. So for the last 4 years, we host them down here, and then they host us up there. It has been a great collaboration for both of our organizations.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And I've always wondered, and this is the I get into too deep in the ditch.
Yeah.
Do you come up with a theme for the season first? Or do you come up with things you'd like to play and then back into the theme for this?
Oh, that's a great question. We could spend the whole hour talking about this. Maybe we shouldn't, but well. So our season this year is called Bingeworthy,
right?
And so we'll be talking about it, as we go forward. And for the last, basically for the last 10 years, I've had pretty strong themes. Like we did one year was the Extreme Symphony, and one year was the Big Questions, and so the answer to your question is both. I usually have a couple big pieces in mind that I want to do, and then I think, okay, what is it that what ties those pieces together? And then we find some sort of thematic idea. And then as I'm filling in other pieces, then I try to fill them in on that idea. So I'm not dogmatic, meaning like if there's a piece I want to do and it doesn't quite fit the theme, I'll still find a way to do that. So this year, when I was putting together the season, I knew that there were some important things, some important pieces that I really wanted to do, including for our Pops series. I knew I was going to do a John Williams concert. That was going to be one of the Pops concerts. So of course that leaves you pretty wide open with a lot of different options. And I knew we were going to do a piece by Stravinsky, Igor Stravinsky. It's called Petrushka. It came from a ballet. It's mostly done as a concert piece now, but it's a story. Right? So we've got this story about this clown who's murdered in the story. You've got every John Williams film at your disposal, Indiana Jones and Star Wars and Catch Me If You Can and all of these great films. And so suddenly it became really clear, okay, stories and characters are the big thing.
Right.
And so as I started filling in pieces, that were other story pieces. Don Juan, we're going to open with Don Juan. We're going to do Billy the Kid. That's another one. Actually, Billy the Kid was on my list to begin with. I knew I wanted to do Billy the Kid. So suddenly we've got Petrushka the Clown, we've got Billy the Kid, we've got Don Juan, we've got three big characters. Now we've got Indiana Jones and Darth Vader. And so when we were coming up with what to call the season, we knew that stories were the theme, but characters could have been the theme. And so we decided, what is it that everybody understands? Everybody understands binging TV, especially since the pandemic. Oh, yeah. Netflix, Hulu, whatever it is. Right. And so this season is basically binge-worthy symphony stories. And so the reason for that, I know we got to cut for a second, but
Yeah.
the reason for that is that if you're already a symphony fan and you're inclined to go, you don't care what my theme is, you're going to go because it's a symphony. But if you're not already a classical music fan, and then suddenly a commercial shows up on TV and you see something about Bingeworthy and Billy the Kid, that might pique your interest.
Yeah.
And it
Absolutely.
has. It has.
Yeah.
It's drawn people in.
That's awesome.
The reason that we exist, the reason that an orchestra still exists, because orchestras are kind of a weird thing. You know, I mean, most things in life get more efficient over time. You know, we got computers that do the work of, you know. Anyway,
Artificial intelligence.
if you're gonna play a Beethoven symphony, you pretty much need the same number of people that you did in 1803 when Beethoven wrote that symphony.
Right.
And you pretty much need the same amount of rehearsal time, and it takes the same. It's like it's not like, you know, Beethoven's Third Symphony that we're going to play is about 48 minutes long. It's not like we've gotten 200 years better so we can play it in 20 minutes now.
Yeah.
I mean, it still takes 48 minutes.
Reader's Digest condensed version of
Yeah, and so in some ways we're a throwback or anachronistic, but the reason that we exist still and that we still play this music that was written, you know, 100 years ago, 200 years ago sometimes 20 years ago, the reason we play these pieces is because they connect with people. People hear them and they get something out of it. And there, you know, a lot of times, especially with orchestral music where you don't have vocals, you don't have, you know, text, it's intangible. We don't really even know why we connect with it, but we do. So, you know, if I go ba 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 ba, everybody knows that. Everybody knows that. You don't have to be a classical music fan to know ba 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 ba, Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. And so there's just something in this music that connects to people. And so my job with the themes, with the different selections, is to grab you and get you in there to hear it. And once you hear it, then, you know, you're going to find out, you know, do I connect with this the same way people have connected with it for 200 years?
I noticed something over the course of time, over being there for years, watching the symphony. The symphony ebbs and flows as far as who's there.
Yeah.
Does that enter?
Do you mean on stage?
On stage.
Yeah.
I really need to focus on giving some more exposure to my harps.
Right.
So, you know, sometimes there'll be one harp up there, other times there'll be 5.
Yeah. Right.
How do you
Yeah, that's a good question. So that's sort of the other. I mean, there are a bunch of pieces to the puzzle of putting together a season. You know, the most important one is how does this fit? How are people going to enjoy this and like it? But, you know, how am I going to pay for it is another question.
Well, there you go.
And how's the board going to pay for it? How's the staff going to raise money
When
for
we
it?
sell enough tickets
That's
to pay
right.
for it, yeah.
And so, you know, certain pieces call for giant forces. Certain pieces call for smaller forces. And so there is an ebb and flow because I'm balancing budget across the year, right? So if I do last year we did a big Mahler symphony, Mahler Second Symphony, giant work. I mean, huge. There were, you know, 350 people on the stage, you know, with the choirs and the orchestra. It's also very, very expensive, you know, because everybody's paid. So, you know, our players are all professional. We're paying them. So the next concert maybe is a smaller program, meaning music that calls for smaller forces. We don't have 2 harps. We don't have 4 trombones. And so it's basically what the composers are calling for determines how many people are sitting on stage. But which pieces are played is up to me, and then so I do a little bit of balancing act that way.
Yeah, I was always fascinated by that because you know, you just walk out and it never looks the same.
Right.
It's always different.
And that's part of the you know, the reality. If you're a violin player in the orchestra, you're going to play pretty much every concert. If you play the contrabass bassoon, you're only playing probably 2 or 3 concerts of the year that require that instrument. And you know, same thing if you're like my third cymbal player, you know, maybe once or twice a year you get hired to do that. And of course, it depends on depends on the type of orchestra. With ours, everybody's professional, everybody's paid, but they're paid every time they show up. With some of the big orchestras, if you're in the New York Philharmonic and you're playing the contrabassoon, you get paid whether or not you're required,
Yeah.
and so that's a little bit better gig if you're a contrabassoon player.
Yeah. Oh well, yeah.
So,
They have a lot of demand for those.
yeah.
Those are, I mean, just these fascinating, I was wondering questions. They have not a lot of pertinence
Yeah.
to the whole thing.
Oh, sure.
One more question, and then we'll probably have to take a break, and then we'll come back, and I want to talk about the season then.
Yeah.
There's another symphony guy just walking in.
All right.
We've got the Ozark Mountain Daredevils.
Yeah.
Are going to be back and do their final going away symphony.
Yeah.
With the symphony.
Yeah.
Is that going to be similar to the last time they performed?
Yeah, it is. It'll be a similar, most of the same pieces that we played with them before.
Right.
They're on their big final tour.
It was an exciting concert.
It was an exciting concert. It was so much fun for us, and we do those kinds of pop concerts now and then. In June, we played a big free concert in the park.
Right.
And that was a Billy Joel and Elton John concert.
It was great.
A great band with us on that.
And it was perfect.
Yeah,
the weather was just
terrific. We're later this year. It's not announced yet. Well, I better not announce it. There's going to be something like that later on this year as well. It's going to be a special concert.
Fine.
But I'll say with the Daredevils, those guys are special, and they are spectacular musicians.
Mm-hmm.
They are so versatile. They can play in almost any style. But I will tell you a little tale from school. They were pretty nervous the first time we got together because they said, I'm not used to having to fit exactly. They say we're usually pretty loose. If something needs to go loose, we'll go loose.
Yeah,
so,
they are loosey-goosey
yeah.
for sure. Is this your only symphony, or you got?
No, I also conduct the Topeka Symphony. So I'm back and forth between Springfield and Topeka.
Okay.
Yep.
That's what I thought. I thought you had one out of Kansas, but I didn't know.
Yeah. So I drive up and back to Topeka all the time.
Man,
So
that's amazing. Is it a similar?
it's similar. It's just a little bit smaller organization. They do 7 subscription concerts instead of 9. Kind of all the same extras and things.
Right.
Just a little bit smaller.
Right.
But there's actually a really nice synergy of having 2 orchestras in the same basic category. So, for instance, our opening concert, which is coming up real soon, next month,
Yep.
we are featuring one of the Van Cliburn piano competition winners.
Right.
And so I called Van Cliburn and said, hey, I've got 2 orchestras. What kind of deal would you give me if I hire the same guy to do both?
Right.
And they give us a deal. And so, because if I can do them back to back, especially, it's great for the soloist. They learn one piece, they get to work with one conductor,
Right.
they do it in 2 different orchestras. It's a lot. I don't want to say it's less work, but it's less transition for them.
Right.
And so we really have had a lot of instances where we've been able to afford people that we wouldn't have been able to afford because I can offer them two gigs.
Yeah, and so he's doing that on the 13th of September,
Yeah.
and it's romance music.
Yeah.
Don Juan.
Don Juan, and we're playing the Tchaikovsky big first piano concerto,
Right.
which
There's
if
a
for
lot of pounding.
yeah for the people who remember Van Cliburn, that was the piece that he won.
Yeah.
So Van Cliburn, famous American pianist, went to Moscow
Mhm.
during the height of the Cold War and beat all the Russians and won the international Tchaikovsky competition. It was the first time an American had ever
Yeah.
done that.
Got to meet him. He had the longest fingers I've ever seen.
I bet.
Yeah, I mean, he could span,
It,
I don't know,
it
octave
takes
and a
that
half.
for that. Yeah.
Yeah,
And then he
was
came back to Houston, where he was from, started the Van Cliburn competition, which now is probably the biggest piano competition in the world. It happens every 4 years. It's basically the Olympics for piano.
Right.
And so we've got the silver medalist is going to come
That's
and play
awesome.
with us.
Now, that third piece, though, tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, the third piece is by a woman named Valerie Coleman. She's a contemporary composer. I mean, she's writing right now. It happens to be an African American composer. She wrote this piece called Umoja, which is a word for unity, and it's this really beautiful piece. One of the things that I try to do is balance out, the things that everybody knows and everybody's heard with some pieces that expand a little bit what the orchestra can do, but I try to be really cautious and mindful when I do that, because if I pull out a piece and it's just harsh and crazy and discordant, and you come to Springfield Symphony and you hear this piece you've never heard of, and I say it's this new piece, and you say that was terrible, I don't ever want to hear that again, then you're going to be really hesitant to come and see us again when we do new pieces. So I work really hard to try to find newer works that I think people are going to grab onto the very first time they hear it, because that's the other kind of truth of our business. Tchaikovsky's Piano Concerto is great, but part of why everybody loves it is because it's so familiar. And so when you hear a piece, heck, the Beatles are great, partly because they're so familiar.
Right.
You hear Hey Jude, you've heard it a million times. It triggers something in you. Mm-hmm. Christmas music, Sleigh Ride, same kind of deal. So if I put a brand new piece in front of you that you've never heard before, you haven't had the opportunity to hear, it's got to be able to be something that you can connect with right away, because you don't have that luxury of the familiarity with it. So I'm excited about this piece. This is going to be a neat one.
Good.
What I've done, every year I always tell the audience, give me your requests, tell me what you want to hear. But I also go to the orchestra. I go to the players in the orchestra and say, hey, what do you want to play? That collectively, the 80 of you ought to know more music than I do as an individual, and especially because the players will say, hey, we want to do new things. We don't want to just do the same things we've always done. And I say, all right, suggest some things. And so this was a piece that was suggested by a player, and I listened to it. I said, it's great, let's do it.
Yeah. She
said, really? I said, yeah,
That's
it's
awesome.
great. It's a great piece. And in fact, I'm going to skip ahead. That's in September. The same player suggested a piece that we're going to do on our November concert. Now, November, we'll talk about October in a minute, because that's our Pops, John Williams concert. November, we're going to play Billy the Kid, and I told you that at the beginning, that was one of the pieces that I knew at the beginning we were going to do. Mm-hmm. It's a classical piece, but it could be a Pops piece.
Right.
And so the same player said, hey, there is a concerto, for those who aren't diehard symphony fans, the concerto is the place where we have a soloist. So a soloist plays, the orchestra backs them up. She said there's a concerto for 4 percussionists, 4 drummers, and orchestra. And she said, it's fantastic. You got to listen to it. And so I said, okay, I'll give it a listen, and it is unbelievable. And it was written for this group of guys. They're called Sandbox Percussion, and the 4 of them play it, and it's amazing. And it's not just an oral, just not something you hear. You have to see it too, because these 4 guys are changing instruments, they're trading sticks, they're trading. It's really great.
So it's performance art.
Yeah, it's performance.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's performance. It's very strong music. It's great music, but it's just in order to be played by these 4 drummers, they have to be coordinated.
I can't remember. Was it last year or the year before that you had the? Was it Cambodian?
Oh, the Thai musicians.
The Thai
yeah,
musicians.
that was this last year.
Yeah, that was amazing.
That was one of the best things I think we've ever done, just in terms of something new, but just amazing.
Yeah, played instruments that just didn't go there.
Okay, well, this is a little bit like that in that it's not your conventional solo. It's not a piano. It's not a violin. It's not a cello. It's percussion. In fact, there's one place where they play, those cans of compressed air that you use to clean your computer. There's one place where they're playing cans of compressed air. So it is really cool.
That's just great.
Yeah.
Now, who come up with that?
Well, this very creative composer.
All right. We'll get back, and I'm going to let Dave ask some questions.
Yeah.
Right now, you're listening to History Museum presents Stories of the Crossroads, and we'll be back after these messages.